Welcome to Part 3 of our Unit 1 and 2 CBA review, Electron Shells and Valence Electrons. Elements with the same number of valence electrons have the same reactivity and chemical properties. This means that all of the elements that have the same number of valence electrons will kind of behave the same way chemically. This means that their chemical characteristics will all be similar. Valence electrons are on the outside shell of the electron cloud. Whatever electrons are on that outside shell are your valence electrons. Elements with the same valence electrons are in the same group. Groups are also known as families. Elements with the same valence electron are in the same groups on the periodic table. As far as reactivity is concerned, group 1A and group 7A are most reactive because they are one valence electron away from a full valence shell. Remember, our groups are up and down. And our most reactive groups 1A and 7A, 1A is here and 7A is here. They're most reactive because they're one valence electron from a full valence shell. Group 8 is least reactive. Group 8A. Let's make sure we get that A on there because it's actually group 18. Group 8A is least reactive because it already has a full valence shell. Group 8A is our noble gases group. They're over here on the end. Now let's move on to electron shells. The first electron shell can hold 2 electrons. Those are these two, and this shell. The second shell can hold up to 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the third shell can also hold up to 8 electrons. Ooh, that's messy. Oh well. If you'll notice, there's a big happy smiley face right here in the middle, and that's because protons are what give a face to our elements. Protons are positively charged, and protons determine an element's identity. Not an accident. Okay, moving on. Electron shells, we know are these rings. If you'd like to recall that electron shells are rings, you can write in rings up there. Elements with the same number of electron shells are in the same period. Electron shells can also be called energy levels. Remember that periods are sideways and that there are 7 total. First period are these at the top. Second period is here. Third period is this white one. Fourth period is just below that. Fifth period, sixth period, and seventh period. The lanthanide and actinide series fit in this little gap right there. Now let's practice. Which of these 2 elements is more reactive? When we're talking about reactivity, remember that valence electrons determine reactivity, and that the most reactive ones are the closest to a full valence shell without actually being there. So we have to count the number of valence electrons. This atom, Cl, which stands for chlorine, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 valence electrons. This one, with the B in the middle, which stands for boron, only has 1, 2, 3 valence electrons on the outside shell. Therefore, chlorine is more reactive. It's in group 7A. And is only missing 1 electron. electron. Which of the two elements above is a nonmetal? Go to your periodic table and recall that we have metals on one side, nonmetals on the other side, and metalloids in the middle. Look for your staircase. Remember that boron is the moron that starts the stupid stairs. Metals are on the left, nonmetals are on the right. I have chlorine and boron. Chlorine is located right here, and boron is located right here. Boron is touching the staircase. That makes boron a metalloid. Therefore, chlorine must be our nonmetal. It's to the right of the stairs. Number 10, which of these elements is the most reactive metal? So we're looking for the most reactive metal out of these. Hydrogen is our first choice. It's located right here, and it's group 1A, but remember, hydrogen we colored dark blue because hydrogen is a nonmetal. Can't be hydrogen because hydrogen is a nonmetal. The next choice is bromine. Take a second to search your periodic table. Bromine is right here. It's in group 7A. Remember that 7A is one of our most reactive groups because they're one valence electron away from a full shell. And our last choice is cesium. Cesium is also in group 1A, just like hydrogen is, but remember that cesium is a metal. So now we have two tricky choices, 1A and 7A. These are both reactive. Let's go back to our question and reread. Aha, which of these is the most reactive metal? Think about it. Which side is your periodic table is metals? Is cesium in the metal section? Or is bromine in the metal section? If you're not sure, look at all the neighbors. Bromine's in this section up here. Oxygen's certainly not a metal. Neither is helium or neon. What about cesium? Cesium is over here with calcium, potassium, iron, copper, silver. Cesium is in our metals section. Our answer is cesium because bromine is a nonmetal. Number 11, what do hydrogen and cesium have in common? Let's look at their positions on the periodic table. Hydrogen is here and cesium is here. What do you notice? They're both in the same group. They're both in group 1A. Remember that elements that are in the same group have the same number of valence electrons and the same type of reactivity. What do hydrogen and cesium have in common? They're in the same group, which means they have one valence electron and similar properties, similar chemical properties. ChemProps stands for chemical properties. Number 12. What do we call the rows on the periodic table? Go back to your notes section and look. The rows are called periods. Number 13. Barium and radium are on top of one another on the periodic table. They're in the same group. What does that tell you about their similarities? It means that they would have the same number of, drum roll please, valence electrons. Last one. Why are groups 1A and 7A most reactive? Go back to your notes if you need help. Group 1A and 7A are most reactive because they are one valence electron away from being stable. Group 1A can lose that one single electron, go down to its more inside shell, and it achieves stability. Group 7A can gain one single electron, and their outside electron shell will be full, maxed out at 8. That concludes Part 3 of your Unit 1 and Unit 2 CBA. Don't forget to study. Good luck.